Hey everyone, how are we all doing? Are we excited about building a van or thinking we're all kind of crazy? Either way, here's the video on electricity, what you all have actually been waiting to see. First, I'm going to start by saying I don't know what I'm doing. I am not an electrician, so please, if you aren't exactly sure either, definitely do as much research as you can. And there are some basic electrical skills you are going to need to do it yourself. If not, maybe ask a friend. Everyone seems to know an electrician, but I'm going to show you what I did. There is no right, there is no wrong. There are many, many ways to wire a van. This is just how I did mine. All right, so the solar power. So I'm going to go through how I did mine. Again, there is no, I guess, really right or wrong. There's many, many ways to do it. This picture you likely saw on Instagram, and this is what I gained from my research. A few things did change from this. So I'll kind of go through the 3 different ways that I'm pulling power from my solar panel. So first things first, I chose to do 2 6-volt batteries and series them together. When you series, you double the voltage, so it makes a 12-volt battery. Or you can buy 12-volt batteries and you can parallel them, and then it doubles the ampage. Do some research into what that actually means. When you buy a 12-volt battery, a single one, usually the amps are about 110. So when you double, you'll get 220 amps. Everything I read, and I don't know if it's necessarily true, did say to kind of go with 2 6-volts because it helps to draw the power more evenly when they're series together versus when they're parallel. They can pull more voltage from one side versus the other and can, I guess, just make your batteries not last as long. I don't know if that's true, but I just went this way. They happen to be 2 golf cart batteries, so they should be vented, but with the way my van's set up with everything being at the very back, I'm hoping it'll be okay, and I'll show you where those are in a bit. So yeah, I'll go through the solar panel first, and then there's also the inverter, and I've chose to run DC power, so I'll explain all those things separate to help make it make sense, just because you might maybe choose to not use an inverter at all or not use DC power at all, which would be silly, but I'll explain that in a bit. So yeah, solar panel. So I have a 150 watt solar panel on the top of my roof, and with that, try to buy the kit. It is better, and then you'll get generally a 30 amp charge control. 30 amp is kind of what you need for my solar panel. Depends on what you buy. If you buy the kit, they'll give you the right charge control for that. Basically, when you buy the solar panel, it's going to come with all the cables you need to connect it to the charge control and all the cables you need to connect down into the batteries. All right, so I'm going to show you the roof here. So this is my solar panel up here. So I decided, I'm just going to move my door here. There's 2, I don't know if you can see them under here. They're little junction boxes. So I put mine through there. I made a little video to show you those little junction boxes, but those are them. So then the power comes through the top of my ceiling here, and then they come through, and then I've got the extension cables so you can connect them to your charge control. So positive and negative, research which one's the female, which one's the male on those. And then basically it comes down, and this is the back of the charge control. So you've got right here is where the battery's hooked up, so a negative and a positive. Usually it's pretty self-explanatory. It'll actually be marked what is what. And then this is to my battery, negative and positive. Best thing to say is if your charge control doesn't turn on automatically, you likely hooked it up wrong. Simple as that. So I'm gonna take you down here. So this is kind of my whole setup at the back here. It's kind of a little messy right now, but I'll do my best. So here's the 2 batteries here. It's a little squishy in the back there, but we've got the 1 battery at the back and then the one at the front. This big honking cable right here that I'm pointing at, that's the one that's doing the series between the 2. Then you can see at the front here on my positive, I've got the solar panel. This is the cable right here running to it. This is the DC and the inverter cables, but I'll get to those in a bit. So that one's running up and hooking up. And then you can see the other one with the little yellow little knob connector, a little jumper on there, is the ones that are going up into the back of my battery here. So yeah, that's basically the gist of how to hook up a solar panel. So from there, you have, I guess, a few options how you want to do it. So one thing to note, and I'm going to tell you this now because I made this mistake. When you run the 2 cords series, you cannot attach anything to these 2 nodes that you've got the series cable running through. Basically, they're dead at that point. You have to connect everything to the leads. I, being myself and not knowing, I just connected things to them because, hey, why not? And nothing worked. So don't do as I do. All right, so the best thing to do when you're running, especially in an RV, there's a reason why cigarette lighters and DC power is just more often used. If you're pulling right from the batteries, it's so much more efficient than trying to run an inverter off of them. So if you can, it would be best to run most of your power DC. So for that, solar power into the panel. Panel is charging your batteries. Simple as that. Now your DC fuse box. That's what this lovely thing is right here. So this is basically electric 101 from, I guess, even, I don't know what grade in school you learn this, but it's your simple, just connect things to screws, positive and negatives, and life is good. So at the top of my fuse box here, I have the negative and the positive at the end. These are running down, and these are what are hooked right into the battery. So this is the positive one, and the negative one is way back in the corner there. You can kind of see it. So these run up, and basically it's making this whole fuse work. So I have 2 really important things that I chose to do and use off of the DC, and that was the fan that I have running for you up here in the ceiling. So this lovely fan was by far the most important thing I put in here, just because I'm traveling with my dog and I do plan to hit places that are warm. So with that, I want to draw right from the batteries, and that's how I did it. So this one's the fan here, so positive and negative. I also decided to run my fridge, which the fridge is just up there, working away, and that one's plugged into a cigarette lighter. I just picked up the accessories at just your regular, I guess, Home Depot is where I got mine. And then I ran the cigarette lighters, positive, negative, and those actually run the side of the van. And that's these 2 cables here that are poking through for the fridge. So yeah. So that's how that is. Obviously, make sure you have your fuses in there, just in case anything should happen. But yes, lovely. One of those. All right, so the inverter. So you can also draw right to the inverter, which if you're using an inverter, basically what you're getting is your regular sort of outlet plugs. I wanted to have this just because I'm going to have my computer and that kind of stuff. And if you get a really high quality inverter, you basically can stop potentially wrecking your computers or any electronics, just as simple as that. There's a huge range in prices for inverters. I kind of went with, I guess, I don't want to call it higher end, but one that would be better for electronics. Mine is pretty low wattage, so it's an 1,000 watt power inverter. You can get 600 watts, but that's getting to the point where why even have it? You can go way up from there to 2,000 watts. Obviously, bigger RVs have huge wattage just so they can run things like microwaves. Even something as like a toaster runs at 900 watts for the most part. So you wouldn't even, if you had a 600 watt inverter, you wouldn't even be able to plug your toaster in. It would just not turn on. So yeah, I did do a diagram before putting a fuse in it, but these are the cables to the inverter. They're 1 gauge is what I ended up using, and there was no way of splicing that to put a fuse in it. So I just hope this little sucker does its job. So that's the inverter there. It's got the 2 plugs. So one of these plugs is the one you saw running back through the side, and I've actually got a few lights plugged into that. So yeah, it there's actually a light right up here. Whoop, you can see. That light is plugged into just regular sort of power. And then these are, as I forgot to show you, these are the little ones that are actually plugged into my DC here. So chose to kind of take 2 methods, and this is a little DC one as well. So yeah, I chose to run a few off of DC and a few off the inverter, just because anything I can do in a situation to use less batteries, I'll do that. And then if I do have to plug in at a campsite, I can use my regular plugins or pull from the inverter if I have to. So one thing I did do is really simple to do. So I'll just turn on my inverter here. All right, so it's running at a little 12.1 there for the volts. All right, so that's running a plug here. And then you can just see it runs just regular sort of lights too. So I got some fancy little lights there. One thing I did is super easy. I put an on-off switch. Oops. There we go. So yeah, try and do that. It just runs in with like a little cable there that runs down. And just because obviously I can't reach in here to turn this on and off, and just running this even when you're not using it is going to draw power from your batteries. So try your best to not do that. I'm just going to go around and show you the fridge here. So this is the little fridge. So it's running right now. It's just plugged into a cigarette lighter, which is just kind of up in the corner there. And then I do have a power bar that's wired through the back there. So yeah, I just turned it on a little while ago, but yeah, that is the inside of it. I put a thermometer in there just so I obviously don't make myself sick for any reason. And then I did end up buying a little adapter because this one right now is plugged into a cigarette lighter. So I bought this just in case I am at a campsite. Anything I can obviously not draw from my batteries is far, far better. So yeah, back to the little drawing. So I hope that kind of helps in any way. Fire me some questions if you have any. I'm happy to help. Just know that I don't always have internet while I'm traveling. And also, if there are enough questions about certain things, I will definitely do maybe a little update on the video. And yeah, happy wiring. And I hope you guys all know what this little tool is. If you don't know what it is, I'd probably recommend you find someone else to do your wiring for you. It's really important. Anyways, have fun, everyone.